And I'll firstly come to Adrian. So if you want to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, Adrian Goode. I'm the International Trade Manager for Virgin Money. I cover the south of England and East Anglia, assisting corporate directors, relationship managers and small business managers at the bank to assist businesses that require specialist international trade assistance.
Phil?
Yeah, thank you. So Phil Reynolds from Newable. We're a non-bank lender and we specialise in supporting SMEs looking for export finance, typically up to £500,000 of an unsecured lend. We tend to specialise in kind of making quite quick decisions. So SMEs who need a relatively fast turnaround come to us, want a new contract to export, and hopefully we can turn that around quite quickly and get them the working capital they need.
Thank you. We're going to look to cover a couple of topics this morning. Firstly, just to understand some of the challenges that SMEs are facing, and obviously get input from both Adrian and Phil on that. And then hopefully we'll move on to a discussion around solutions and how banks and government are helping SMEs, particularly to grow their exports overseas during these challenging times. So first of all, Adrian, I suppose, what are you seeing from your client base? What are they telling you about the challenges that they're facing?
Major challenge, Phil, Carl, is the cost of living and all the actual costs that go into the actual manufacture or supply of the parts and the goods they're looking to actually export. Everything is increasing in price, whether that be through raw materials, whether that be via energy costs, whether that be staff costs, freight costs, financing costs. Everything is impinging and eating up cash. So if they've got cash available, then it's how quickly you can pass those extra charges on to the end buyer.
Yep.
And basically get the cash in that you're going to need to fund new contracts and fund existing contracts. So that's the major cost.
And are you seeing more of a squeeze on liquidity at this time?
Yes, yeah, because your actual cost of manufacture or cost of purchase of the goods that you're selling on is higher than it was previously. The cash you had available, or the funding you had available, is no longer possibly sufficient. So there is actually a squeeze on what is available to actually cover off existing contracts and new contracts. So yeah, it's a balancing act as to how quickly you can pass that that cost on to your buyer. So
I suppose, Phil, as a non-bank financial lender, are you seeing something different, or how are Newable seeing in your discussions with clients when they're coming to you for working capital?
Yeah, so I think we put them into two different buckets. So I think in bucket one, we have quite a lot of businesses that might be sort of accidental exporters. So they were very UK focused, then they started selling overseas, and that has just become a larger part of their business over time, almost by accident. I think for those businesses, it's often the advice or guidance that's needed to help operate, with a higher mix of international sales, which comes with the challenges of payment terms and currency exposure and things like that. And then in the other end, I think similar comments really, where the whole working capital cycle to deliver the export has more volatility in it. So whether that is input prices, there's currency fluctuations, and then also just the supply chain can sometimes lengthen seemingly endlessly for some businesses. And I think it's very difficult for people to then plan, kind of how they structure the capital to support that.
Okay. Yeah. And are you seeing it across particular sectors, or is it all sectors? Where are you seeing this particular squeeze? Is it just everyone?
So I think we see it where people import a raw good and manufacture it and then export it again, like that whole end-to-end cycle, which maybe they could previously say, okay, I've got an order, I'm going to buy something, and within 3 months I will have received it, made it, and sold it. And they just have much lower confidence on being able to do that within the 3 months. It now might be 6, but it could be 9, and it's difficult to then plan capital accordingly.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, the currency volatility isn't helping either, because as you say, you've got different purchase costs or different currencies for maybe purchasing and sale. So you then got that currency volatility that you need to build in really at the start. Otherwise, you're diluting your end income, or even sometimes wiping it out. So,
and do you see any other challenges that SMEs are facing in terms of looking to export? Obviously post-Brexit, is there anything that you're seeing from them in terms of encouraging more export activity?
We're seeing that there definitely is an encouragement there to actually increase exports. We're seeing a greater request for things like guarantees. Or if you're on open account trading previously with overseas buyers, they're asking for either reduced terms or standby letters of credit, just to cover themselves, shall we say, that they're not 100% happy that you can do what you say you're going to do. So we are seeing requirements for advance payment guarantees, performance guarantees. If it's projects, then greater than they were previously.
Okay.
So, and then we're asking for cash to be put aside to actually cover those. So so it's impinging on the cash.
And again, is that similar for Newable?
Yeah, so I think we tend to focus on kind of SMEs up to about 20 million of turnover. And I'd say the two big challenges faced by those businesses is, one, their core banking relationship is often with a bank where they, as an SME, are not big enough to get access to the proper trade products. So they get into this weird kind of black hole of, I'm doing some trade, but it's not enough to access a trade finance product. Where do I go? And I think that then the provision of advice or guidance or signposting to those SMEs is probably, it's there. And I know, UKEF has got its EFM teams and it's got the working capital products, but there's just so many SMEs that I think just are not aware that those things exist, and so they don't know where to go.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we'll talk a bit about solutions and how we manage some of these challenges a bit later, but it's interesting to pick up on some of the things you sort of said in terms of those sort of challenges for export. I suppose another challenge that we're beginning to see, and is very highly topical at the moment, is around sustainability. Again, how does that sort of impact your clients when they're thinking about not just export, but their normal course of business in terms of, we talked about input costs, but sustainability of their business?
Yeah, it's a massive focus for Virgin Money, that we're asking all our customers to actually look at sustainability and actually drill down in their business and how it operates, and actually what they can actually do to alleviate some of the the green issues. For larger turnover businesses, then we are getting them to fill out a sustainability sheet, which actually gives them advice and actually gives them solutions and what they can actually do to actually reduce their sustainability and their footprint. So,
but probably is that a bigger issue for Newable, or does it still come up?
It comes up, but it's probably less of an issue. I think our view on it has been generally try and find businesses that are working towards improving it, but always quite conscious that at a smaller business level, they may only have one key supplier or may only manufacture one key product. So there's not always an easy solution to suddenly solve it. But it is something we look at and something we assess.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of businesses have a focus on it now, which a lot more than even 12 months ago, because it is a large area, isn't it, to focus on, shall we say?
Yeah. Okay, I think just, we've talked a lot about the challenges, and we'll come on to how shortly, how we work together. As two new partners to UKEF, we'll talk a bit about that. But I suppose just to sort of move into that session, it'd be good to just understand a bit more, I suppose, about proposition and some of the solutions and how you work with your clients, and understand a bit more about Virgin Money and Newable, and initially how your sort of client base and your proposition. So just, I suppose, a few words on that, Adrian.
Yeah, as I said, I don't have a specific portfolio to look after, and the bank for international trade managers, we don't have a specific portfolio. So we work with the relationship managers, corporate directors, small business managers. So it's actually trying to upskill the staff and know that all the staff within the actual Virgin Money business know that if they have a customer or a business that's looking to export or import, that they can actually have direct contact to myself and our international trade team, and that they can get specific guidance and specific assistance for specialist requirements that they have for those businesses that do export. So, because they have different challenges than those that only sell in the UK. So,
and I understand you're principally focused on SMEs.
Yeah, we have lending anything up to 50 million is the maximum we focus on. In terms of turnover, there is no limit on the turnover of the business we will look to assist, but the maximum lend we'll look to do is 50 million. But our sweet spot is those businesses from around 1 million or 500,000 up to around 50 million.
Yeah. I know, Phil, you touched a bit on it in terms of your proposition, but just to remind us again, sort of the sort of businesses that you're looking at.
Yeah, so our proposition is really working capital for exporting businesses. Typically, we're lending £300,000, so much smaller than some of the bank partners will do. The way our customers tend to use the product is, I would say, most of the businesses are UK based, UK mainly, like 90% of their revenue is UK based, and they have a small element of their business which is exporting but is growing. And they tend to use our working capital facility to fund almost one-to-one with an order. So overseas order comes in, draw from us for working capital to fulfill the order. And it tends to be quite, so we turn those requests round in 48 hours.
Yep.
So they kind of have the certainty that they have that facility available, they can win an order, they know they can fund it to us and then ultimately fulfill the sale, repay us and hopefully repeat that.
I know we've spoken before, but it's an interesting proposition is that you wouldn't see yourself necessarily competing with the banks.
No, not at all. So we tend to view ourselves as kind of an extra product that sits in the background. We're there just to facilitate the export. We don't need the main banking relationship. We don't need security over the invoices. We can do it on an unsecured basis. So it should be a relatively easy, relatively quick proposition to sit behind another lender.
Yeah. So just moving on to sort of obviously the partnership that UK Export Finance has with both of your organisations, obviously relatively new. I think Virgin Money, I think we've announced this week the partnership, and Newable, it's been obviously a few months now. But it'd be good to hear about how you view the relationship with UK Export Finance and how our solutions can work together in terms of helping SMEs.
Yeah, we were historically Clydesdale Bank in Yorkshire Bank, so we've obviously now bought Virgin Money. So we used to have the bond support scheme and export working capital schemes under those previous banners. Now we're obviously as Virgin Money, so we've signed up in our own right in that name. We still offer the bond support scheme, export working capital scheme, but we've also joined the general export facility scheme as well, which is the recent sign up that we've had with UK Export Finance. And as it's been a game changer in terms of how we can assist SMEs and businesses that look to export. So yeah, it has been very beneficial.
And I suppose, the benefits of the scheme, and we could talk, well, I could certainly talk for ages about general export facility, but from your point of view, I suppose just talk around a bit of the flexibility that it provides in terms of product offering and how you can utilise it compared to, I suppose, the historic schemes.
Yeah, but the historic schemes, it was pretty much contract specific. You could have a few contracts within an overall umbrella facility, whereas general export facility gives you a requirement or a guaranteed 12-month cover for a certain amount, up to 80% cover for the bank, as long as they meet the minimum criteria as an exporter. To get the UKEF cover, we can then offer them a facility, gain that cover from UK Export Finance, and look to understand what the business is needing the funds for, but we can assist in a lot more general way than we used to be able to before. And the flexibility, as you say, is it's putting a facility in place at the outset and then just using it on a day-to-day basis rather than having to keep coming back and saying, we need this, we need that.
Obviously, Phil, you're part of the same scheme, but obviously it's slightly different for you guys in terms of it's probably bigger volume. But I suppose, again, just getting your perspective of how Jeff helps grow your business as well. Yeah,
so I think really key distinction on Jeff is that it's available to support an exporting business and not necessarily only to support a specific order, which for smaller businesses I think really helps us then with the lend, because the business may need the working capital for some part of an export order or for some part of their normal business, but because they are an exporter, they qualify. And I think that is really important just to help exporting businesses grow. And I also think it's worth touching on the EFMs, so Export Finance Manager proposition as well, because I think for some of the smaller businesses who can't access a trade-specific RM in the bank, then this is another avenue for them to go and get some of that initial conversation, initial advice on how to go about exporting or funding an export.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, no, thank you for touching on the export finance managers. I was actually going to also ask Adrian that as well, particularly as obviously you're both looking to do facilities nationwide.
Yeah.
So I suppose the importance of the EFM network.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So they're always available, regularly in contact with obviously the banks and also, as I say, with businesses. But yeah, they're very proactive in terms of getting banks involved with customers they've got on board, they're speaking to. So yeah, it's really beneficial. We have a good relationship with all the people in and around my area, and I know my colleagues do as well throughout the country. So yeah, as Phil said, they're very important.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, obviously, as you said, we've seen a big growth in the banks using GEF, General Export Facility. I suppose to challenge me, I suppose, a bit more, and to challenge us is, I suppose, is what more should government be doing? How else can we help the banks and SMEs and your client base? What other things could we be doing? So just sort of welcome, I suppose, a conversation around that without being too challenging of it at this stage. But that'd be good to hear from maybe Phil in terms of what you would like to see.
Yeah, so I think that right at the top of the funnel, and I think the kind of awareness in the SME base could probably be improved about either the GEF facility itself, i.e. come to a lender that's backed by GEF to probably give you cheaper or more flexible working capital to export, and also the advice that's available. I think there's just a lot of small businesses who probably are in the exporting bucket but just don't know that a lot of this stuff exists. And I think that is a combination of kind of sort of government messaging on it, but also I think in the larger banks, for those that fall outside of their minimum criteria, like proactively messaging it as an alternative, given no one's really going to look to take that customer relationship, I think would be good.
Yep, take it on board. And from your point of view, Adrian, is there other things that we could be doing or developing, etc.?
The only thing I'd probably look at is possibly a longer period availability.
Yep.
So at the moment it's 1 year fixed, 12-month period with an extra year, obviously, that you need to renew. For guarantees, we are seeing a lot of longer guarantee requirements. So, okay, we're having to make a manual submission directly into UKEF, which again, we're getting positive responses on, but a slightly longer availability.
Yep.
As long as the banks are happy with it, then yeah, that will be beneficial.
So really, just making it easier, more accessible,
absolutely,
etc.
Yeah. A quicker turnaround. If there's a guarantee requirement there or a requirement there, then that people or customers are looking for a quick turnaround, a quick response, as Phil said. So it's the quicker we can give that, the better it is to the business themselves.
Yeah, and I think both of you obviously representing organisations that do a lot of work with SMEs. I think, from our point of view, it's getting the message out there that, I think a lot of people view that we provide sort of finance to large corporates and that's all we do. But, I know over 80% of what we do is with SMEs. I suppose that's an important message, is that we do help a lot of SMEs, and the majority of what we do is with SMEs. And I suppose that's a message that you both want to get across.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as Phil said, the more notification or the more publications we can put the message in, the better. So I think.
Okay. And I suppose from your point of view, Bill, I mean, obviously, as I say, you signed up to GEF. You've mentioned some of the things we could do about raising awareness. Are you moving more into sort of digital solutions for your client base, and therefore how do you sort of see government coming along with that? Is that where you want to move to, is more digitalised, more straight through processing of applications, and is that something that we could help with?
Yeah, so I think we're definitely going in that direction. I think we tend to try and view the digitisation at just trying to minimise the admin time, whether it's on our team or on the business owner, constantly requesting information. I mean, a lot of the businesses we support, maybe they manufacture something in the UK and sell directly through like a Shopify web front.
Yeah.
When we connect through the APIs to their Shopify store, we just get all the information that would probably take like 5 hours or so for constantly manually requesting it.
Yeah.
And so I think we're trying to focus on making that give us the information we need to determine whether it's a yes or no, but then we do have a manual underwrite overview on that as well.
Yeah.
And I think the more we can bring the kind of government-backed solutions into that sort of world where maybe it's a delegated authority within criteria or something, it just allows us to go back to the SMEs with a quicker decision, so then they can say yes to that contract or commit to an order or something. I think it's the uncertainty in between that maybe frustrates the end user more than actually a no, as long as it's kind of quick.
Yeah, fully agree. So I think we're focused on digitalisation. It's a way forward for us. We're trying to get customers to take as much responsibility and ownership of the actual what they want to do from the outset, but obviously having the people in the background, the specialist knowledge, that they can come through to people. So we have a link, obviously UK Export Finance is on our website, and General Export Facility there as well, just explaining what it is, how it works, but also if they are interested in, then the link and the referral comes through to the international trade managers. So we can actually then get in touch with them to understand properly what they're actually looking to do. Give them guidance.
And that's nicely segued into the next question, which was around, obviously Phil mentioned about raising awareness, but if you've got SMEs out there, you've got your client base out there, how do they find out more about, not just about us working with you, but just generally, how do clients approach you? Is it through the website? Have you got people on the ground? So how would SMEs contact?
If they're an existing customer already, then obviously there's stores, there's the website, there's the actual direct chat links on the actual internal websites. If they're non-customers and they're banking with the bigger banks, shall we say, then it's normally they're having to find it themselves. So they may think, I'm interested in Virgin Money as a bank, so then it's looking at our own website. It's a lot clearer than it used to be, so it's quite well signposted in terms of if they're focused on international trade, or then you can actually have a specific section on there. They can go into that and look at the individual products we offer, such as the standard international trade products, but also obviously the links to international trade managers as well as UK Export Finance. But otherwise, it is raising that awareness and seeing it externally for a lot of businesses to understand that there is that assistance out there, shall we say.
And what about yourself, Bill, in terms of Newable and how people find out more about Newable and can access assistance from Newable?
So again, our website allows people to apply directly, but I think we also have quite a large focus on partnerships. So whether that's accountants, solicitors, other finance professionals introducing business to us because it's such a specialist product, and then also distribution partners, so trying to integrate the product with e-commerce platforms or payment providers or things like that, where there is a natural fit for that working capital need to sit behind a second service.
And I think I would also add that obviously you can access the UK Export Finance website. We have all our partner banks on there. We have information about the export finance managers and where they're all based around the country. And as I said before, they're working very closely with your teams to identify those opportunities and where we can help more exporters. So I just encourage people to sort of, whether it's through your sites or through our sites, to see what offering is out there in terms of General Export Facility, but other products and other solutions that we have. Just coming to sort of final bits, I suppose, in terms of other solutions that you can sort of provide, other things that you can do, particularly to help exporters. Is there sort of, besides sort of products, is there sort of advice, guidance that sort of Virgin can sort of provide? Do you have that aspect as well?
It's in terms of advice, it's mainly the international trade managers and us signposting businesses. So if they have a specific need that's not financially linked or not something that we will cover, then it's signposting them to somebody that is or will have that knowledge, whether that be other businesses, shall we say, that we've worked with before or know of, and just pointing them in the right direction. So,
Okay. And from your point of view, Phil, is there other things that you from a Newable perspective that you would sort of look to offer or sort of talk to clients about?
We wouldn't necessarily try and cross-sell them different product during an export finance piece, but I think the the broader Newable group, our propositions are aligned to helping SMEs with the core things they need around advice, money, and workspace. And so, we do work with a lot of innovative companies, often through the government, other government programs, in terms of delivering advice on that. Again, so if it fits an SME and we can help them, we try and signpost them into that as well.
Yeah. Okay. We're just coming to the end of the session. I think it's been a fantastic chat, and obviously learning more about your businesses and how you're helping SMEs. Obviously, I'd like to thank both of you for coming along, joining us today.